So what we'll do first is gonna keep it organic. I'm probably gonna talk a lot about why you've been successful the way you've been successful, your business model. I think what you do is inherently, it's just like when people think real estate, more and more people are starting to think investors and wholesalers, and it's become more of, especially the typical person is getting more mail, right, than they've ever got with people making cash offers or seeing it online, and so they're learning more about it. But it's still a little bit different. So I imagine when you have conversations, explaining what it is you do is probably like one of the first questions that comes up. What is wholesaling? How do you identify houses?
Yeah.
And what I'd like to get into is, from what I see, well, first I guess I should probably do introductions. I'm Tyler Carlson, obviously, and this is...
I'm AJ Sheffield, dispositions manager at the Easy Homebuyer.
And I am Chad Young, the owner at the Easy Homebuyer.
And we are fortunate enough, these guys, the Easy Homebuyer, was meeting with our real estate team this morning at our meeting, just sharing what it is they do and how realtors can get involved and participate on the investment side of the business, as well as how we can partner and use them as a resource, and a ton of really, really great information. If you've seen this video and you get a chance to talk to either of these guys, we'll probably put a link to their page somewhere in the comments or in the description. Click it, reach out, super friendly. They'll answer all your questions.
You didn't say smash the like button.
Smash the...
That's always on
man,
this.
yeah.
Subscribe.
Ring that bell.
We're just not there yet. Yeah.
We ring the bell all the time in the office. It's important.
But so from an outsider looking in, what I see in the content that you do put out, when I say you, I mean you. You put out a lot of content, and for me, like, the whole idea of sharing on social media is something that I've really had to, for whatever reason, it seems like it's either natural for people or it's unnatural. For me, it was unnatural.
Yeah.
And forcing myself to start to do it's difficult, but you do a great job at it, which is why he asked when we were at our team meeting, he said, who knows who I am? And every single person raised their hand, and that's because you do a great job at that.
Well, thanks. You know what's funny about that, though, is I'm just like you. Like, I had to force myself into it. Like, I'm not... That wasn't natural for me. Like, I literally deleted my Facebook account, like, right before I started in real estate.
Oh,
and
my
then
gosh.
I realized, like, that was a means... Like, that was super important for what I was doing. And so I just had to create another Facebook account. And
From scratch?
It was just for business, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was a short time I had 2 accounts, one for personal, one for business, and then I got to the point where it had become like an addiction for me, and so I cut the personal one completely, focused on just the business. Now they kind of mesh again a little bit, and so
it doesn't work. You have
to be careful.
Put it all out, right? It's got to be organic. That's what makes it work.
It does, but yeah, it's a necessary evil. If you want to build relationships with people and grow a business, it's something that you gotta put yourself out there and do. And I try to get on Chad all the time for it. How many times have I told you?
So many, dude. I think this was last year. We had one of our competitors call me the silent killer because they're like, "Dude, you're like unknown."
Yeah,
but you guys are doing all this volume. I'm like,
mysterious force.
Because I don't like social media, man.
Yeah,
we're trying to change that, but yeah, I have better things to do.
Right,
I guess.
It's tough. And then you walk with like something, like that meeting, for instance.
Yeah,
I should have been like done a quick little Monday morning meeting. You know what I mean? And you just don't think of it, and then you walk away, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I should actually."
I should have given you my phone. Yeah, I needed that for mine. Oh yeah, here we go.
There we go. Got it. All right.
Nice.
See, we're learning.
We are.
We're getting there. Anyways, from the outside looking in, what I see is an organization that is grown quickly, and for whatever reason. It looks, just as a business owner, it looks like it's grown with stability. And I know that's a weird thing to say from the outside, but for whatever reason, it just it puts off that. Like it's well run. I see good culture. I see like these connection points where you guys are close. You're connected by faith. And I want to learn about that. I want to learn why you think that you've come together. How do those hires work? Why did you choose the people you chose? What does the culture feel like within your team from the leadership perspective, and from how you've developed that along the way? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about when you think of the culture of your organization?
I would love to hear your answer, because I know I put a lot of thought and intentionality into culture. It's one of the few things that I really relentlessly pursue. And so, I'm curious, how do we do on culture?
Yeah, no, culture is huge for us. Like it's really everything we do. I can say I've just got genuine friendships with all the people I work with, and it's amazing. And like you said, our faith is like a huge part of what we do. So that brings us together as well. We just like to, it's funny, when I first started with Chad, it was just me and him. Well, he started the company and I joined later. And we were making our list of core values and stuff like that. And, we have all these like serious things. And I'm like, Chad, we need fun seekers in there. Like, we got to have fun while we work. Like, this is a real estate company. People are going to want to have fun. Like, and, we were having a little bit of fun, but it wasn't like to the extent that we have now, where we play 20 minutes of ping pong a day. We take a couple of breaks during the day. It's like, it's important to get the blood flowing and just have those things that kind of keep people coming. And then also just to create an environment of like just extremely hard working people. Because we wouldn't be doing 75 deals a year. Like, we did 75 last year. We wouldn't have done that with 6 people if we were all sitting on our butts all day and not doing anything. And so it's the culture is huge. And honestly, like that's the reason I come to work every day, is for the culture. It's not necessarily the job. Like, there's you don't love 100% of everything all the time of what you do. But man, I love the culture, and like that brings me back all the time.
Yeah. And just kind of speak to that, how we got to that point, is just, we have our core values, and they're in iron. Like, we literally printed them on iron. They're on our wall, or about to be hung up in our new office. We just moved offices. They were on the wall in our last office, but you hire, you maintain, and you fire off of your core values. And so, like, our very first core value is humility. And so in, the multiple interview process, we ask a lot of questions that relate to humility. Like, talk to me about your biggest failure and how did you handle that? And the person's answer oftentimes will dictate if they have a genuine humility or if they're just trying to pass with an A. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. When you were getting ready to build, or maybe even throughout the process, like, I know about myself, I was exposed to mentors early on, and I can look back and I can see some really key people who came into my life at specific times, and through influence and for whatever reason created or helped push me in certain directions. I'm curious if you can look back and or even presently and see how there's people that kind of shaped the direction that you went on, how your team looks today.
Yeah, 100%. We spent, myself personally, I think six figures on professional development, consulting, and coaches last year. And I continuously would have 2 to 3 at any given point that I would go with until I could basically learn what I need to learn from them. I either maintained that with them because I thought there was more I could get, or let's say we did a development deal and I needed to learn about apartment builds. I would go and literally hire a coach that I knew had done a lot of that and just be like, how can I add value? I want to pay you, teach me. And we do the same, like I was talking to you about in the room before. Our sales guys go through probably $30,000 worth of courses before they ever go and talk to people. We have tried to plug our people into the best coaching and mentorship programs that we can. But yeah, I 100% agree. Everything you need to know is in somebody else's head. You just have to find that person and get it out of their head.
And so for me, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, when I started with Chad was that person for me. Like, I just saw he's like a walking book. Like, he's read all these books about real estate, about running a business and different things like that. And like, I'm not a reader. I'm starting to read. I just finished the book Atomic Habits. It's great. I'm going to start implementing that. But like just being around Chad every day and just like being able to absorb like all of his knowledge and get kind of like the Spark Notes version of it has been like incredible. So yeah, just being a part of a team that like has a leader like Chad that can just seep knowledge into the company. Like any questions I ever had, like I flipped a couple houses now. Like I was able to do that because I learned stuff from Chad, and so it's really incredible.
Yeah. And just from the point of leadership, it just trickles down. Like everybody in our organization has trainings they're plugged into, has mentorships or courses that they're doing just to grow them in their leadership and in their specific skill set in the company.
And is that an ongoing kind of thing?
Yeah. It's kind of hard because like, you look at a transaction coordinator, there's like no courses that teach off-market wholesale or investing transaction coordination. But there's a lot for sales. There's some for disposition. There's a lot for lead management, stuff like that. And so the courses we get our people plugged into, and what we can't find, we basically make. We have a really extensive like training library on how we do all of our stuff, and kind of stuff that will kind of cross collateralize. Like maybe negotiations goes really well in aspects of transaction coordination. So we'll plug them into certain videos and courses and stuff like that.
So what I'm hearing is a pattern of identification of something that would be valuable to the organization, and then follow through on building that out, whether it's something you can go out and find or build yourself. Where do you find the time to do all of those things?
That's why we have 7 employees.
Yeah. Well, honestly, seven for the level of volume that you're doing isn't a ton. I mean, whether it's your real estate or my real estate, a lot goes into it, right? And I think there's always a lot of busy work, right? There's always things that can kind of like pull you down and get into busy.
Yeah.
How do you guys handle, I guess, splitting up the load, or hold each other accountable to, or even identifying what your priorities are as far as what you guys are going after?
Yeah. You want to talk to them kind of about the stoplight report? I mean, just some of the things we've recently implemented.
Yeah. So we had a coach come in and kind of lay out the stoplight report. Essentially is just like an accountability chart for everybody. Like once a week, we have all these like metrics and numbers that we have to hit. So for me, like, how many assignment transactions did I do? Like my goal is two a week. So did I hit that? If it's not a 2, then it turns red. If it is a 2, it's yellow. If it's over 2, it's green. And so you can kind of see like over the course of time, like if Chad decides to take a vacation to Jamaica, or who you probably don't want to go there, but
I'd sunburn.
Yeah, you definitely would.
Alaska.
There we go. Yeah, perfect.
My people.
So if he wants to go there, like he can literally just pull up the stoplight report and see like how his company's running. And we've got maybe like 20 line items. We each have like 3. And so he's got just kind of a like bird's eye view of how we're doing. And so that's been super helpful for us.
And those are, like you said, how did you identify those important things? We went back and said, what are the most important numbers and metrics that we can measure in each department? And the cool thing with the company stoplight report is, let's say our acquisitions guy has 3 numbers that he has to hit, like 10 appointments in a week, 2 contracts. If he doesn't hit those, then we can go to his department stoplight report that we're developing right now. And it's like, okay, well, if you didn't hit the goal of 10, how many appointments did you go on? How many calls were made? How many appointments were attended that canceled? And we can start to go back and say, this is where in the process it went wrong. And this is what we need to measure this week. So, and then an org chart. I mean, we hired a company called Sharper Process. And they went through and what was really clarifying to me in an org chart, and I don't know why it hit me 2.5 years into business, is you have all these boxes, and then you have the person who's basically accountable to those things. And I always thought that the person at the top, everyone answered to that person. It was like, no, just because this person is the head over acquisitions doesn't mean that everyone under them in acquisitions answers to them. It just means that they're accountable for their numbers.
Right.
It doesn't mean like, okay, I'm going to talk to you because we have a problem in that department, or you have to answer to me. It's no, this is your seat, your role, and your numbers. Whether somebody else is assigned to doing that task or that skill, you're still responsible to make sure that those numbers were hit. And so I always just thought that I had to be like if you're one person was in acquisitions, there's two people under them. That doesn't mean that the person on top of acquisitions is their boss. It just means that they've got accountability in that role. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, another big thing there is like right person in the right seat too. And so we all
Sure.
have like really clear defined roles. Like I don't do anything in transaction coordination. I don't do anything in lead management or acquisitions. Like we all have our lanes that we do like at a high level really well. And we've all taken personality tests and just been matched to the things that like fit really well for us. And so that allows us to operate at a high level because like I don't have to be good at transaction coordination or answering the phone or different things like that because we have like an expert level person in our company that does that. So and one other thing I want to say about Chad is like this guy's got 3 kids like under 4 years old. Like I can't believe he does the things that he does. Like and if we didn't have all of these like systems and processes like dialed in and laid out, like how would you even you couldn't run a company like this. There'd be no way.
I think the fact that we had 3 kids that were born in like a year and a half, and I think that fact alone made me implement all these systems and processes because like, dude, at 5 o'clock, like I go home and I'm dealing with kids. Like
I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat as you and I went through this and I still do this where I'll say I'm going to take this home. Or I'll finish this, or it'll be like, oh yeah, that's something that, throughout the week, I'll just kind of work it out.
Yeah.
And then I leave and then I get home and nothing is going to pull me away from spending the time. Like when my son's there, meets me at the door, says, put on your Batman hat because we're playing Batman now. That's what we're going to do. We're going to play Batman. Even if I don't want to, you just can't do it. And it becomes tough.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's one of the things too. You talk about culture, like every single person we brought into our organization, I'm like, in the interview process, I tell them, I have family. I love my family. You have family or friends. You love them. There's no overtime here. Like you come in at 8:30, you leave at 5. Work does not go home with you. Like if you can't get your job done in those hours, we will implement better systems. But those are your work hours. This is your family hours. Those two things don't mix. And I'm never going to stop somebody who's passionate about doing their work and wants to after hours, but it's never required. Like we're relentless about being like, there are boundaries here and that's your family time. And that is to us. Your family is far more important than this business.
Sure.
Like it just is.
And are most of the people on your staff, are they W-2?
Yeah, they're all W-2.
Cool.
We have one virtual assistant in the Philippines, so it's a 1099.
Sure.
Actually, they don't even have 1099s in the Philippines, so
yeah,
she's just paid.
Yeah. she gets her money.
Yeah.
How'd you go about identifying that person?
AJ. Yeah, he actually, from his last job, worked with her.
Yeah,
cool.
She was a virtual assistant that got laid off. She maybe 2 or 3 months into the position, she's like, "Hey AJ, I see we're with a new company. Are you guys hiring?" And we're like, "Yeah, we could really use a virtual assistant." So she's been on for how long? Like almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, yeah. And that was one of those things. Like I trusted AJ enough. He's like, "Hey, we should like hire her." We didn't even have a job for her. We made one.
Sure.
Because I was like, she'll just make it like easier for us. And we're actually in the process of, we have a couple more VA hires that we need to make just to, listen to every call that we're doing, input notes, make sure things weren't missed, stuff like that. And so when we figure out how to hire more VAs, I'll send you our process maps and stuff on how we do it.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
How many people that we brought on, like how many people did we just make a spot for, would you say? Like I know we posted a couple job opportunities, but like
probably everybody but one. I think Lydia's was like
the only one that came through.
The only one. I was like, we need a transaction coordinator, so we hired. But everyone else has just come to us and
word of mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we're like, well, based off of we use a thing called predictive index. That's personality type. Based off of your PI score, we have this need in the company. You'd fit well here, and then we just make the role for him. So
neat. That's something I can relate to. Almost every new role, admin wise or staff wise, has been either somebody that we weren't ready for yet. You know what I mean? That was above the level that we had room for or could even really afford, or just part of our organization and right fit, right culture, right everything, wrong role. And now we got to let's identify and figure out how we can do it.
Yeah,
and that's tough sometimes. You know what I mean? Because it does stretch things a little bit until that value actually starts to pour in.
Yeah. And when it's kind of funny too, when you get somebody that is a really good culture fit, and they're a smart person, not book smarts, but like street smarts. They
Sure.
can figure it out. There's another thing we do called the cognitive score. You take a test that gives you a score on how quickly you can problem solve. And the person that scores well on that and is a good cultural fit. We literally, like, I think the last 3 or 4 hires we brought in, it's like, hey, this is your role. We've got pretty clear like definitions of what you do. You're now going to document everything you do and make the processes for what you do. And we're going to be able to measure it, and you're going to be able to train that to somebody. But like when you get that right person, they will build out their own role.
Sure.
It's awesome. And
Sure.
I honestly think everybody we've brought into our company is probably that way. It's like, we've never really done this role before, so we're going to bring you in. We're just going to throw you into the mix after some good training, and then we're going to figure out what we need to tweak and define and clarify, and then we just put it all in processes and papers.
So when it comes to identification of these the training resources that you're using, who are you going to get advice on what those should be, or is it just research you're doing on your own? Where's that come from?
Yeah, AJ and I and most people in our company are really well connected with a lot of other investors in the US, whether it's masterminds or groups that we're in, things like that. My honest approach to pretty much all that is I try and go find the person that is the most wildly successful that I also trust, like not one of these guys posing by the Lambos.
Sure.
But somebody that I know is doing it, somebody that I can talk to 3 or 4 other people that know them and say, hey, like, have you worked with them? Are they a good person? And then I go and try and provide value to that person, whether I'm paying them for their time or bringing them deals or resources, things like that. And then I just say, who did you send all your sales trainers to? Who did you do for your transaction coordination? What company did you hire when you were looking for a CFO? Like those types of things.
Right.
When the wildly successful people just tell you how they did it, all you have to do is emulate it.
That's
Takes the
interesting.
guesswork out.
R&D, man, rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
Like that's we literally, like, we're not creative people. Like we just find the people who like, do it at a high level and we just copy them. That's it with everything.
Yeah.
Like I was saying in the meeting this morning, the AI stuff it's starting to give us the ability to do that at like a whole new level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where we're taking content from the great stuff from all over, just transcribe, throw it in there, reword, toss it back out.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. One of my friends at a small group we were at last week he's like, have you seen chatbot.ai? I'm like, what the heck is that, man? And he's like, hits a button. He's all, tell me how the Shawshank Redemption in a 500-word essay had a cultural impact on the 1980s. And it literally just typed this out and I read it. I'm like, dude, my kid's never going to have to do homework.
No, never.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think we have like this window, right, of opportunity where inevitably it's just going to be integrated into business as a whole.
Yeah.
I think there's probably going to be this generation of, like, as a profession, an integrator, where they teach you or even as a consultant come in and build your business into the AI models and how they work.
Yeah.
But we have this little window of getting out the right stuff based on all the tools that the AI has access to.
Yeah.
When you sent me that, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, when you sent me that app, he sent me like the image one. You can like type in whatever words you want, mix an image. You want to know what I picked?
What?
Is a monkey eating a bowl of planets. So
that was like a time warp into another universe as painted by Claude Monet or whatever. And it will make
it's amazing.
It will make that picture for you. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of scary. Like, goodbye, copywriters.
Yeah.
You're not going to be needed here really soon.
I mean,
Seriously.
so many people, copywriters,
Yeah.
marketers, lawyers, unfortunate, just contracts in general.
Yeah.
Speaking of the future, another trend I've seen is in real estate, both on the retail side, where, like, I'm seeing that in my own business, where I'm identifying some things that specifically, how much of a market share can I control long term? Right, up above 3-4%, I think becomes very difficult over a long period of time. And then you start to ask yourself, what's next? And I look at the previous generation, and you start to see where they transitioned the Tomlinsons, the Blacks, the Haygoods, transitioned into utilizing the relationships that they'd built with their clients over time into more development
Mm-hmm.
and into more, more purchases.
Yeah.
Other people, like a close friend of mine, Danny O'Bannon, who had a wildly successful business for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
went through a bunch of different, I don't know what you'd call them, evolutions of his business,
Mm-hmm.
from local to flips and wholesales to just wholesales to virtual wholesaling to commercial wholesaling,
Yeah.
apartment buildings, to now where he's almost completely out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just gone to kind of this like focus on crypto.
Mm-hmm.
All that to ask, what do you think your next couple evolutions of your organization is going to look like? Is it expand? Does it shift? Have you spent a lot of time on it?
Yeah. It's kind of felt like we've been playing catch up to the business the last 2 years because we did grow so quickly. But through our natural pipeline, it's presented opportunities to do new builds. We now own chunks of land, many of them outright, that we can just build on. We just bought an acre, I think last week, that we can put a 20-unit apartment complex and stuff like that. And so development's definitely going to be a thing, but I mean, I'm kind of a steady Eddie. Like the wholesale, the flipping, that's always been a really good gig for us, and I'd rather go an inch wide and a mile deep on that. And as we can start to add kind of accessory things into that, we will, like development, as it's a natural play for us because it came across our plate, and things like that. But I mean, our next phase, like I think we can be doing 300 houses a year locally before we kind of hit like a cap point in our market. And I only say that because of guys in similar size markets across the United States that I've asked that have had a hard time going past the 3 to 350 mark. But yeah, we just want to go deeper. And
when you say local, do you mean like that I-90 kind of corridor between Coeur d'Alene and Spokane?
Yeah, I mean, just Spokane and Gooten counties. We don't really, like, I think we've done the occasional deal outside of those areas, but we didn't market for it. It just kind of fell in our lap, and so we just helped the person out. But
cool.
Yeah, no, we're pretty hyper local, just our 2 counties. So if it's like not an hour from our office, we're probably not going out to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of gives me an interesting caveat into marketing. So one of the things you said in the meeting is it's important for you to brand and get your name out there for a bunch of reasons. One, to connect you with the community and your potential clients. 2, with the rest of your network and agents and people who could use you as a resource.
Yeah.
How do you go about that process of, do you think about it in 2 buckets, marketing or branding you as a business and communicating and marketing for your business, or is it all kind of the same bucket?
It's all kind of the same bucket for us. There's things that we'll do that obviously, like a lot of AJ's social media content and stuff like that, is more branding, less marketing, but they're, I mean, dovetail together.
Sure.
Branding will always produce marketing in the sense that it brings an ROI when you get deals. And good marketing, regardless of what it is branding as well. But yeah, I mean, it's always, we had a pretty easy business philosophy, like that comes from our mission statement, like value other people is more important than yourselves. Whether that comes across through a mailer or an email or a radio commercial, whatever it is, when you do your business from that venue, do it really well, get a testimonial, serve that person, ask for a referral, and then it just spreads.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
He's really good at branding. I'm more.
Would you say, because another problem in real estate is we tend to focus on a lot of different things at once, especially realtors, where they'll do great with whatever lead sources they have coming in and try to focus on follow-up. And then they'll go to like a meeting or a conference and somebody will say, we're doing all these open houses. And then they want to focus on that for a little bit. And then somebody's doing great at social media, and so they want to do that for a little bit. And they kind of like jump around.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's a few things that you've kind of identified as the pillars of marketing, or what's going to bring in your business that you focus on?
That's a good question. I don't know if anyone's ever asked that before. Because by a lot of trial and error, we've realized that things that you have to focus on are marketing. And a big one on that is your ROAS, your return on ad spend, which is similar to your ROI, but a little bit different. You can also just measure your ROI. And then there's, it's really a full-time job managing all of your marketing and compiling those reports. And so we have similar stoplight type reports where we're continually looking at, okay, this channel, did we get, 43% of our leads came in after hours last month, for example. And so then you start looking at, well, if we know we don't answer the phone call, the likelihood of us getting that deal goes down by about 80%. We know that we need an additional hire. And so just whatever medium you're doing, whether it's Facebook, Google Ads, whatever, you have to intensely measure it and say, this to us is defined as success. If we do this and reach this ROI and we have this, it's defined as success. And anything that falls short of that, you have a plan in place to pull the lever, hire another person, change when your ad hits, hire a call answering service. We just did things like that. And so you just got to measure. I just think measurement.
Every salesperson out there knows you need to track your numbers, right? Everybody heard it. You need to get as detailed as possible. You need to understand where your business is coming from, where your at-bats are coming from, the activity that you did, the cadence that you did, and the volume that you did to create it. Mm-hmm. What do you think is different about you guys that you have taken steps to actually do that at a high level? Because everybody knows that. Very few follow through on the tracking.
Yeah. We have this little thing that we like to burn every month, and it's called a pile of money. And we've been doing that for quite a while because in an up market, you can be really sloppy about those things.
Sure.
And then, like, for instance, I ran our numbers last month and realized that we had about $22,000 of advertising that went to calls we didn't even pick up. And I was like, oh my gosh, when you realize you're just burning that pile
story
of
of my
money.
life.
Yes. Yeah. When you realize you're just burning that pile of money each month, you then start to hire consultants and people like that can tell you how to write that really quickly. So I just don't like wasting tons of money. And it's going to be inevitable in a fast growing company. You're going to have those periods of fast growth where you get loose about operations and measurement. And then when stuff starts to come down, you get really dialed in with that. And then you really benefit when it gets good again because you're dialed in. And so that's what we're excited about.
I love that. The burning piles of money idea.
And you were talking earlier about how do you pick which thing to go after? Like, how do you know what I should do? Like, should I go after all of it? Should I go after one specific thing? Things like that. I just finished reading the book Atomic Habits, and they talked about this. If you have this bodybuilder that just he's the strong one of the strongest guys in the world, and then you have an arm wrestler, and then you have them arm wrestle together. But the arm wrestler, that's all he does. He's just an arm wrestler. He can beat that bodybuilder. Even though the bodybuilder is way stronger, because he's really good at that one thing. And so I feel for us, we have people in specific roles doing specific things that they're the arm wrestler. They're going to be the best at what they do. And so just finding that thing that you're really good at and committing to it can be huge. You're going to stand out. And that one thing might go away in 2 to 3 years. Find something else you're good at that
I love
point.
that.
And then pivot. But you want to be that arm wrestler.
That's a perfect way to wrap it up. Great advice. Speaking of burning money, I know you got to get to a meeting. So thanks again, guys, for doing this. And like I said at the beginning, if you guys want to reach out, I know they'd love to talk, be a resource. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Off we go.